Good morning, Inspired Illuminators. Actually, it's afternoon. And it is the second time in a row where you are not going to be hearing birds singing in the morning. Instead, you're going to be hearing the sound, the hum of the engine, and the bump of my tires against the pavement of the road. And you may hear the sound of cars and trucks passing by. So today is not a jaunt with Jen, but a journey home with Jen from Minnesota to Illinois. So thank you for joining me and keeping me company on this long drive. The journey home, speaking of that, where is that? Where is the journey home? To me, the journey home is to perfect places of peace and contentment. That's where we feel at home. Home isn't a place, right? It is a feeling to me. And I'm going to give a little disclaimer here that I see and experience on one hand time and things like everybody else sees and experiences it. And yet on the other hand, I see and experience it and look at it very differently. Again, if this resonates with you or opens your mind a little bit to think differently, awesome, but I'm not trying to force my beliefs on someone. And even if you just say, that's an interesting way to look at the world. In my experience, the only thing that we actually get to carry with us throughout this physical lifetime and experience, as well as beyond, are our feelings and our memories. And our feelings trigger the memories. Now, there is a very common hot terms out there, phrases if you will, live in the now moment, right? What does that mean? So for me, every now moment is a possible point of a thought, an experience, an emotion that I can carefully place into my subconscious. I want you to think about this. So to me, it is my belief that our subconscious mind is, like I call it in my book, Highest Possibility States, the subconscious shed. It is this infinite place where we can store extreme memories which are triggered by emotion and sometimes sensory. Sensory sometimes triggers the emotion, which triggers the memory. Okay? And what I found, and again, the way that I experience time on one hand is very different from other people, and yet on the other hand, it's very similar. A lot of people might experience time as linear and as a body moving through it. And once you have a moment, it's there and then it's gone forever. Once the physical aspect of the moment is gone, that moment is gone forever. They may be able to keep some of the memory in their mind, but the moment is gone forever. That's generally how people experience time. What I've been experiencing is that moments, or you can even think of aspects of ourselves that we thought were gone forever, are perfectly protected within this eternal subconscious place and space. For example, many of us have childhood innocence and joy and perfect peace. And it's almost like no matter who or what is around us, whether they're cranky or not, we are totally oblivious and we are in our own happy little worlds. I want you to spend a time around like a 2-year-old, okay? I was just around a couple 2-year-olds. They kind of embody this for me around that age. You know, it doesn't really seem to matter if someone's cranky or in a bad mood around them. They're just in their own happy, imaginative little worlds where everything is perfect. And to me, just kind of like, instead of a jaunt with Jen, we're doing a journey home with Jen. Where is home? To me, it is not a place, but it is a space in time, similar to what these little 2-year-olds experience. We can have those moments. They are perfectly protected, and all we have to do is get our consciousness back there. And when we can get our consciousness back there, then we can actually start almost feeling it and experiencing it within our own physical bodies in the now moment. So home to me are these perfectly protected, safe spaces that create physical feelings and experiences in our now moments. I was talking with a couple people recently, and this was one thing that used to get me kind of, not like angry, maybe frustrated when I would go to church and people would talk about what heaven was going to be like. And the reason why I got frustrated is because to me, those pastors and people were basically telling people to get busy dying rather than get busy living. They were basically telling people you can't experience heaven now, but when you die, you can experience heaven. And that would frustrate me and kind of anger me because I'm like, no, I found a way to get back to that perfectly protected place and space now. Now, if you want to get technical, in some aspects, yes, you have to die to get there. You have to die to the belief that once a physical moment has passed, it is gone forever. You have to die to that belief and be reborn to the belief that it is possible to experience home, more heavenly places and spaces in our now moments. And that every moment is an opportunity to create another place and space, or to add to those perfectly protected places of peace and happiness and joy into our eternal subconscious. So what I was thinking is, if each moment, and I experienced this a lot back in 2014, what a lot of us do is we have physical experiences that create physical memory within our body, that create emotions that are judged by our mind and put into our eternal subconscious. And we're doing this all the time. Most of us are doing it subconsciously. We don't even know we're doing it. So the question that I'm asking people is, if each moment is an opportunity and you are putting something into your eternal subconscious, do you want that moment to be polluted or pure? Okay? So each person's subconscious contains a different percentage of pollution or pureness. And what pollution and pureness is to each individual is probably as individual as each person. So how do you know how much pollution or pureness you have inside of you? Again, if you've ever listened to me, I always talk about the big three questions. When I open up my subconscious shed, when I think about a thought or a feeling, how does it make me feel? Does it give me courage? Does it give me forgiveness? Does it give me acceptance? Does it give me self-confidence? Does it give me compassion or peace? Does it allow me to stand in my truth and not feel afraid to hide whatever I'm doing from the world? As a bonus, how does it make other people around me feel? That's like a second bonus, and that's a little bit more tricky, so I'm not going to get into that one right now. Does it make me more or less functional over time? This thought, this memory, this emotion. I want you to think of a good, let's start bad and go good, because I'm like a eat your dessert last kind of person. So let's start with a negative, okay? This can work either way. And we've all experienced this on one level. I'll give an example, and then I'm going to give you just a couple seconds of quiet to let you think of your own example, okay? So a year or two ago or whatever, I can't remember. Time for me is very different than other people. Like once my now moments are gone, they're pretty much gone. I can't remember times very well. But I do remember the emotion and the memory very well. So one day, I was walking by to pick up my son Kai from his soccer practice. I was looking at my phone, can't remember what I was doing. Nothing negative, nothing bad. Out of the blue, all of a sudden, a pit bull is on my arm, biting me. I go into shock. And they ask me if I'm okay, and I'm in such shock that I don't even know how to answer. Eventually, the pit bull lets go of my arm. Okay? Days, weeks, years later, I'm walking down the sidewalk. I see a pit bull or any dog that looks like it could be dangerous at all, and I go to the other side of the street. That memory, that moment is not gone for me. Okay? So the physical experience of seeing a different dog triggers the emotion and the judgment that I had about that experience. That memory is perfectly protected within my subconscious. Now, if I want to, and I've done this with other things in my life, I could do, I can walk through that fear and turn it into courage where I no longer fear dogs anymore. I just haven't done it yet. But it's possible. I want you to think of a time or think of a trigger, a physical trigger that when you see it, it triggers fear, it triggers guilt, it triggers insecurity. Maybe, I know another big common one for a lot of people I know, big scars, or maybe fat on their body, right? There's a physical thing that they see that triggers fear, guilt, or insecurity. That memory of how that happened is perfectly protected within your in your subconscious. That to me is a polluted memory because it makes you feel negative and it doesn't probably make you feel functional. Okay? All right, but the opposite, now we're going to eat dessert, can also be true. A lot of times I hear this about perfume, cologne, or cooking. Someone will smell a smell. I also hear it about songs. Or they will hear a song and it will trigger a very pleasant memory about a lover, about a family member, and about really feeling just safe and loved and protected within that moment in time. That memory is perfectly protected within your subconscious as well. And every moment, every day, we have the opportunity of creating pure or polluted moments that are going to be placed perfectly into our eternal subconscious, ready for us to access at any times. And any trigger might even trigger it without us consciously trying to do it. So one of the things that you want to think about with each moment that you have is how can you create the most pure moments that if you experience the trigger again will create more and more states of courage, of acceptance, of forgiveness, of self-confidence, of compassion, of love, of joy. Okay? Because, in my belief, these are the only things we get to carry with us over time. And we get the choice of what we want to keep in there and what we don't. Now, someday, I will probably walk through the fear that I have of dogs. I have walked through many fears, and so what happens is you can't get rid of the strong, poisonous memory that you may have created and also placed within your subconscious. But what you can do is transform it. So let me do an example. Actually, I was having this conversation with the photographer yesterday when I was talking about cancer recovery and how my diet may or may not have changed after cancer recovery. Many people, there is so much information about vegetarian diets and it curing cancer and that really being the only diet and blah, blah, blah. So I read all about it and I bought into it. But really what it did was it made me afraid to eat anything that could cause cancer again, which basically made me afraid to eat almost anything, which made me really hungry and pissy. So, if I apply my questions to that scenario, how did it make me feel? Angry and pissy and frightened. That is not the journey home. That did not make me feel good. It probably gave me less energy and made me less functional and really just less pleasant to be around, I'm sure. Either myself and or for others. So, eventually I walked through that fear and I transformed it from fear into courage, from guilt into acceptation. Sometimes, I'll be honest, I still feel guilty eating meat. Like my soul in our society trains us that it's inhumane to eat meat and all these things. And my soul a lot of times wants to be vegetarian, but my body, my muscle craves meat. And so I walked through fear that meat causes cancer. I walked through guilt that I'm killing an animal so I can live, which plants to me are just as important as animals, but that's a whole different topic for a different day. So yeah, I walked through that, and now I don't really feel guilty or scared about eating anymore. Now the transformation and the memory and what we carry with us is equal or proportionate to the strength of the feeling and the judgment that we have about the experience. That is why I would probably say 99% of our experiences actually do not go into that perfectly protected subconscious place in space. Unless we do it over and over again like a habit. You know, maybe the very first time you have a cup of coffee, that's like really good, or fill in the blank, whatever your something is that you might eat every day, a peanut butter and jelly or whatever, I don't know. Fill in the blank. Maybe it's not like so wow and amazing in that moment, but over time it adds up, like pennies in a piggy bank or marbles in a jar. And so because you've done it so many times, it created a strong enough memory trigger experience that it is going to be perfectly protected and brought with you over time. On the other hand, maybe you only had to experience it once, and the physical experience and judgment and feeling and emotion was so strong that loud big thing is in your subconscious, like the dog biting me. I've never had a dog bite me before, ever. I haven't had a dog, luckily, bite me again after. But that one memory was so strong that it got placed into my subconscious. Okay? So one thing I want you to think about is, and it kind of really takes reality to a whole new level. If you know that everything you do, every thought you have, no matter how small, might actually be carried with you, not just in this life, but into eternity, to me, that really got me thinking about, what do I want to be carrying with me in this life and then over into that one? I honestly do believe in past lives. I honestly do believe that I have never, ever, ever liked fireworks. I hate the loud sound of bangs. I hate the sound of popping balloons. I've had memories of past lives of being shot. That carried with me into this reality. So when you think that, wow, everything I do, think, feel is not just carried with me in this lifetime, but could follow me into the other life, that's why I am such a big believer in clearing out your subconscious as much as possible now, so that when you go into your next life, whether it is just a space, or whether you believe in reincarnation, whatever you believe, you're setting yourself up for something good. I don't believe that there is a heaven or a hell that we're sent to that we don't create ourselves. And that could really go in the face of probably many of my listeners. And again, I am not asking you to believe what I believe in. That I'm just sharing my experience and the way that I see things. And so if I see that I really do create my own reality, and that reality subconsciously follows me in this lifetime and beyond, then that takes on a whole new level of responsibility for thinking about how I think, behave, and act in the world. And it gives me a whole new responsibility for cleaning up my subconscious shed. And once it's cleaned and organized, keeping it that way. And as I continue to move forward, it allows me to be a lot more reflective and picky, if you will, about what I want to let into my subconscious shed. So I was walking along thinking about now moments and thinking about the different now moments that I have with different people in my life, whether I see them once a year, once a month, a couple times a week, every day. I was thinking about how it was making me happy, specifically that one moment in time. And I was thinking about every moment is a moment to create something pure or polluted that we could possibly be putting into our subconscious shed, and what do we want to carry with us? And not only what do we want to carry with us going forward, but another benefit I found of having perfectly pure moments tucked away into our subconscious shed is we can take mini mental vacations during difficult or monotonous moments. So our physical body could be doing the dishes or doing data entry or whatever, but our consciousness can be in a whole nother place and space, kind of creating that Snow White whistle while you work mentality. And when things are easier, the time flies by when you have more fun. So not only are these perfectly protected, pure moments valuable for just being in the now moment, being so awesome and enjoyable then, but they are also these beautiful things that we can access in our mind to get us through the difficult and or monotonous moments that our physical bodies and lives might need to still go through. Okay? So, the purpose of this talk was, number one, just to share where I got my quote from. I'm always sitting and thinking and reflecting on the biggest questions in the universe. But number two, it's also maybe just to get you to start to think about your now moments and what you would like to create for yourself in that now moment, and then as well as moving forward. Do you want your subconscious shed to be more pure and perfect and organized, like a comfy place to be? Or do you want it to be chaotic and disorganized and dirty and maybe not making you as functional as you could be? Okay? So the purpose is just to share where my quote's coming from. Each now moment is the opportunity to create something perfectly pure or polluted, and so which one do you want to create? And it's also to kind of challenge my listeners a little bit to start thinking about what is a now moment and what do I want to create for myself and for others, not just now, but moving forward. And if you need some help and you want to clean out your subconscious shed, you can contact me. That is something I hope that I can help people with. I kind of want to be a subconscious shed coach and help people dive into their subconscious and help clean and organize it and move past feelings of fear and guilt and insecurity. I do have like a real general, and it's kind of raw and whatever, subconscious script flip that hopefully I'll remember to put in the video below, but sometimes I edit these audios and videos a lot, like many hours later, so sometimes I forget. But if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a subconscious script flip there, which is one way to practice flipping a poisonous, nasty moment into a better moment. And then also I have a video on mindfulness, meditation, and visualization, which is another way to kind of help walk through fear, turn it into courage, and so on and so forth. So those are free resources that you can use yourself. And then if you would like further help and things like that, you can go to highestpossibilitystates.com. You can contact me, and the other thing I'm looking into doing is doing subconscious coaching. Again, I hope that this has helped someone today think about your now moments and how you best want to use them in that moment and in the future. So first you can help yourself, and then you can help others around you, because now more than ever, the world needs these perfectly pure, courageous, accepting, forgiving, self-confident, loving, compassionate moments, and it needs you. Peace and blessings.